Three's Company, everything you'd like to know. Well, maybe not everything, but a lot of stuff next on Retro Serial. Hey everyone, welcome to Braidwood Serial. I'm your host, UNC, and glad you could join me for today's program. On today's program, we have friend of the channel and somewhat of a Three's Company savant, Justin Aylett. I think I'm saying that right. I apologize if I am not. However, I do think that I call him in the interview Justin Braidwood, and I got confused because his channel is called Braidwood Inn, and I said Justin Braidwood. So forgive me for that mishap. But Justin is a friend of the show, and he does know a considerable amount about Three's Company. So I thought about what a better guest to have on the show, to have a round table discussion with me, Thrash Pondo, and himself about this beloved sitcom. But before we get to that interview, go ahead and do me the honor of hitting the like button, hitting that subscribe button, hitting the bell notification if you want to know when these things are available, and also, oh yeah, share it on your favorite social media. And if you want to go that one extra step, you're always welcome to hit up my Patreon page where you can support us. For just $3 a month, you can be part of the Tip Jar Club. And if you want to be $5 a month, you can be part of the Cornflake Club. And I think that's everything. So let's just get straight into our discussion. All right, we have with us, as always, my good friend Thrash Pondo Pons. How you doing, Thrash Pondo?
Never better. Never better.
Awesome. And our special guest today to talk about an episode that I've wanted to do for quite some time, and that is Justin Braidwood, who is an absolute genius when it comes to knowing all things Three's Company. So we are going to pick his brain simply about Three's Company. But first of all, I just want to you don't have a content channel, do you, Justin?
No, not really. I just put random stuff up there, but it's not anything directed at a topic or anything like that.
Yeah, I understand. But you are, like I said, a genius when it comes to Three's Company. So we're going to go ahead and pick your brain on all our Three's Company facts. But let's just start with what got you into Three's Company.
Well, my family watched it. I was really little. I mean, I remember watching probably the last season when I was about 7 or 8. But after that, I got into it, reruns, whatever I could see, and then definitely when it was on TBS in the late 90s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They used to show like a 2 or 3 hour block of it. And I used to buy like those 8-hour tapes and just record everything. But yeah, I watched it like that until the DVDs came out. But basically just remembering John Ritter and his slapstick and all that is what got me into it.
Yeah.
I loved his slapstick.
Yeah, he was great. And it was really tragic when he died. I think it was in 2003. Was that the case? That was in 2003 that he died?
Sounds right. During that 10 Things About My Daughter or something during that show.
Yeah.
8 Rules for Dating My Daughter.
That's right.
8 rules. Yeah, that's right. 8 rules for dating my teenage daughter. Tell me, let's start with the cast and let's start with the characters. What was we all know the premise of the show, so I don't want to sound kind of stupid or, ask kind of a dumb question, but tell us a little bit about the cast and a little bit about like the characters of the show. Like what made the show unique?
I think, well, obviously the 2 girls and the guy living in the room together. For that time, it was unique. I think that was the big thing. They never showed that TV before.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you had the Overbearing Landlords, which was probably, I guess it was a bit of a cliche, but these 2 were different. I think Stanley and Mrs. Roper, Helen, they were a lot different than most landlords. They kind of butted in a lot more than they should. And I don't even know if Larry was around maybe until the second season,
Right,
but
right.
the first season was really short. I think the first season only had like 6 episodes, and then the second season it picked up a full schedule.
Well, in that we've got some running gags because obviously
Right.
the foundation of the show was that they were looking for another roommate, and Janet and Chrissy were looking for a roommate, and they found Jack asleep in their bathtub and concocted this idea that he could move in, but they had to, but it was taboo to have a guy living with two girls. Um, so they said that he was gay, which kind of pushed boundaries during that time period, especially. Uh,
Yeah.
but one of the
It was
running
before.
gags in it is you have to hide the fact that Jack goes out with girls in you know.
I know. He does it right away too. I think in the first second episode or third episode, he's with Roper's niece already.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, it didn't last long. Yeah, the actually episode's titled Roper's niece.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that I didn't even know it started that quickly. Um,
Yeah,
the crazy thing for me about it, about the premise of the show, is it's so, that is so weird to me. Like they're not like, okay, look, I'm not making a judgment call at this point. Okay. So not just so everybody knows, I'm not making a judgment call at this point. I have my own opinions on things. I'm just not expressing them here. But it's kind of weird for me that you like they're like, hey, we don't want a straight guy living with two girls because there might be some sexual stuff going on, but having sex with guys is quite all right. You know what I mean? It's just like a total, it's like, why is one thing okay and not the other? You know what I mean? It just seems to be kind of an odd, like, well, okay, we know Jack's gonna have, if he is gay, he's gonna have boys over at the apartment. That's fine. But a straight guy having sex with two girls is off limits. You know what I mean?
yeah. I know. I did see that. It was odd. I mean, and I always thought about the other stuff too. Like, can the landlord just say this? I mean, I don't know. You can't live here unless you're gay. I mean, I don't know. That always seemed to bother me too. Like, is he the law and order for San Diego County or
Right.
wherever?
I don't know. I don't know. That was kind of fun. And then speaking of the well, what kind of comedy would you consider Three's Company?
Yeah, I think it's definitely not like a topical show. I think it's zany humor, just and really never did a topical show. I think I talked to Dave about that. It was rarely serious.
Yeah, yeah, rarely serious. There were a few serious episodes, and there's something I want to talk with you about a little bit later. But for the most part, it was zany. What's your
Yeah.
take on the show, Thrash Pondo? What do you? I mean, if you were to categorize the type of comedy that Three's Company is, what would you say it is?
I would always refer to it, I guess, as a form of modern screwball comedy. That is to say, generally speaking, the story arcs were based on misunderstandings, usually layered misunderstandings, and everyone would try to straighten things out, obviously going in the wrong direction, until ultimately it all came together at the end, and it was like, oh, I see, it was all just this, and then they would just move on to their next screwball comedy week after week. It always seemed to work for them, but it was very seldom were they all on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, I think that puts it perfectly, and it's actually one of my favorite kind of comedies. And I think I trace the roots to my love of that kind of comedy back to Three's Company because it is a misunderstanding show. You know, people misunderstand a lot of time due to double entendre. You know what I mean? It's just like
Right.
one thing, or they are thinking one thing's happening, but really something else is happening. And it just creates a comedy that is, in my opinion, gold. Justin, talk to us a little bit about the running gag of Mr. and Mrs. Roper and the breaking of the fourth wall by Mr. Roper, and the fact that Mr. Roper just does not want to have sex with his wife. That seems to be a running gag as well.
Yeah, apparently I heard in interviews that he wanted to do this because he never played this type of character. I mean, he was in 60s and 70s movies, always the straight guy, always the doctor or the cop or something really serious. And when he got this, he's like, yeah, I'm going to play this, crazy landlord who doesn't want to have sex with his wife, who's chasing him all over the apartment and frustrated all the time. And also, I think he's somewhat suspicious of Jack the whole series while he's there too. So that added another element to it. But I mean, I think he was definitely good at what he did. And the fourth wall, that was his idea when he broke the fourth wall.
Really, to give that camera that look all the time. That I don't.
Apparently, he did it once, and the director liked it, so they just kept doing it. That was the first one I can remember too. I don't know. I mean, I know there were shows after it that did that a lot, but I don't remember any before that broke the fourth wall like that. There could have been, but I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I don't remember Archie Bunker ever, looking at the camera and giving a look, or
that would have been weird.
That would have been, very strange. What about the connection between the main characters themselves? Just take a moment, Justin, to walk us through the relationship that Jack had with Janet and Chrissy.
I think, Janet, I thought he always had more chemistry with Janet from the very beginning. She was the more serious one, kind of, I guess, kept him grounded in a sense. She kept Chrissy grounded too. Chrissy was just the, zany, airheadish, blonde type, stereotypical. She trusted Jack too, but I kind of think she was, in a sense, had her own character almost. Janet was straight-laced and Jack was out on his own. So I think she was a little closer to Jack. Janet was. I think Jack was always trying to hit on Chrissy, even it was not in a very forceful way, but for a Jack way. He was always doing more than Janet, I think.
I think so too. And one of the things I think is that I don't know, I think that I couldn't agree with you more as far as the chemistry is concerned with the cast, and that is that Jack had more in common with Janet than with Chrissy, or at least there was more chemistry. But there were definitely, he hit on the bomb blonde shell more than he did with Janet, even though Janet was probably better suited for him if they were going to get together, which they didn't. Thrash Pondo, thoughts?
Well, I would always thought like this. Janet was the one he would take home to mother. Chrissy was the one he just wanted to take home. Think of it that way.
Well, I get that, and I totally agree. I totally agree with that. Yes.
Remember, Chrissy was the one for those of you who remember Where Were You in '62? She was the girl in the convertible in American Graffiti, the one that Richard Dreyfuss lusts after the entire movie. So I think they had in mind to sort of hypersexualize her from the get-go. Susan Summers, that is to say.
Yeah.
Whereas Janet was almost the straight man, because Rick was the depraved. Oh, I said Rick. I'm so sorry. Jack was the sort of what the English would call the randy sod, and Chrissy was the very beautiful, approachable, well, let's say. So Janet really played the straight man in this triumvirate.
Well, one of the things that we have to talk about when we're talking about this show is the fact that it is a remake of Man About the House. That was an English sitcom, right?
BBC, yes.
Yeah, another British redo.
Yeah. Did either of you see Man About the House?
Yes.
Justin?
I've never seen it, but I'm assuming it's on YouTube somewhere. I just never looked it up.
You've seen it though, Thrash?
Yes, a local PBS station in my area years ago used to air episodes. In fact, not to get ahead of the game, they also showed the follow-up series, the one that here was known as The Ropers and Robin's Nest, the incarnations that came later. So I got to see a few of them. Not a lot of them, but enough of them to actually get a flavor for the show. And the chemistries were pretty similar in their dynamic.
How are they different? What was Man About the House about?
It's the same situation. A young man needs a place to live. Two young ladies need a third roommate, and they have to sneak this past these sort of prudish landlords. The only thing I really remember is I don't remember the sexual tension, as it were, being as strong in the British series as it was in the American. They really tried to play that up in the American version. The British one seemed a little more, well, should I say, a little less risque. That's not to say it wasn't there. It was just sanded down. Go ahead.
No, that's interesting. Who left first? Was it the Ropers who left first, or was it Chrissy who left first?
Yeah, the Ropers, I think.
The Ropers left first because there were episodes with Chrissy and Don Knotts, right?
Right.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about why the Ropers left. What was the story behind that?
They got their own show, I know that, and then apparently I'm going by DVD extras and what I've watched online. They got their own deal, and the director said they could come back if their show didn't work out, and he basically reneged on that deal. So their show didn't last more than one season, and they said, "Can we come back?" And he's like, "Nah, we're not going to use you. We're going to bring in Don Knotts." And
yeah,
that was kind of disappointing. I thought they got a little shafted on that, but that's not surprising considering what they did to. I mean, they did stuff to Chrissy too later, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how that happened.
Yeah, the Ropers had one successful season, then they moved its time or something like that, and then it just didn't get the success, and so they said, "Let's go back." And they actually, I think it was for a year. They said if in a year you don't have success, then you can come back. And they actually technically made it a year. And so they said, sorry, but then you also have a year of Don Knotts as well. And I think fans got attached to Don Knotts. I mean, they were both different, but they were both equally lovable. And it's like, when you have somebody like Don Knotts, it's just like, okay, I don't want to just get rid of Don Knotts. I mean, yeah, we did like the Ropers, but I mean, I like Don Knotts too, and now he's here. So you just kind of stick with who you have because you don't want to just get rid of him. I mean, I'm real sorry it didn't work out with the Ropers, but that's just how it works.
One of the fascinating things I found about the Ropers is one of the guest stars in the series, of course, was Jeffrey Tambor.
Yep.
Now, he actually did episodes of Three's Company itself as different characters. In fact, the funniest thing is he dated both Cindy and then later Terry as different characters. The one where he gets Terry, I still think is one of the funniest episodes they ever did. But yeah, he became a perennial in the franchise.
Yeah, he just kind of switched characters there. I remember him in all three, and I remember him in the Ropers. Who did he play in the Ropers though? What was his? He was like a returning person in the Ropers, where he was just occasional in Three's Company.
Exactly. He played one of the main cast, the not recurring. They're one of the main characters in the Ropers. He was like the downstairs neighbor who was constantly getting in shenanigans with Mr. Roper.
Did
Go ahead.
Did you watch The Ropers, Justin?
Yeah, I watched it. I mean, I watched all the episodes, and then it was fairly short run. So I think it was on TV a few years back, and I watched the whole thing in a week. I mean, it didn't take long for them to air all of them. The woman and the kid weren't that great.
Yeah.
I think it was mostly Jeffrey Tambor and the Ropers were the only three I cared for.
Yeah. I've seen like maybe 2 episodes is all, so I couldn't really give it a good go. Well, there's a few things I got to cover and I have to ask you about that we got to, because we only have a shorter period of time than normal. And that is, please clue us in on what happened with Chrissy.
Okay, so from what I have gathered, she and it was her boyfriend, husband, or whatever it was, / business manager, asked to get more money. They both did, but it was her ultimately. And they didn't want to pay her more, so they offered her, they really lowballed her. And basically she just walked. She wanted to get paid what Jack was getting paid, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And they said no. Now, in my opinion, I might be an outlier here, but I think they all should have been paid the same. And now Janet, or Joyce DeWitt, has also gone on record at some point to agree with her. There's an interview on YouTube with them talking, and she says it was all the main brass who didn't want to give the women Jack's salary. But apparently Joyce was really close to John, and Chris and Suzanne was too. So I don't know. Maybe they all should have banded together and asked for the same, if that was the main issue. I don't know what John Ritter was making back then. I'm not really sure what the salaries were.
Yeah.
But to me, it seemed fair. It wasn't called the John Ritter Show. It was Three's Company. So the 3 main characters you think should have been paid the same. I know Jack was a big, big star, but not really when it started.
Right.
This was his first breakout. So why they weren't paid the same when it was a hit, I'm not sure.
Yeah, as I recall, Jack was getting paid $150,000 an episode, and Chrissy and Janet were getting like $70,000 an episode, which was still pretty good, especially for that day. But still, I get it. It like you said, it's not called Three's Company, but it's called it's not called Jack Ritter. It's called Three's Company. And so it seems unfair. And I think Joyce DeWitt just said, "Hey, I'll swallow it." Just rather have 70 grand an episode than nothing.
Yeah, she was pretty quiet about it. I mean, she didn't like to she was quiet in real life too. I mean, she's the nicest person in the interview. I don't think she would have made a stink about it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, she also kind of stuck up with Suzanne Summers and said, maybe we should have asked for more back then. But Suzanne was in it to get more money, and she says, I just wanted to get paid the same, and she might have asked for too much, but the show was a hit, so I don't know how you could have said no at that point. I mean, I don't really know what she asked for. I think it was somewhere in the 200s.
Wow. So even more than what John Ritter would have made. But
I don't know if John Ritter told her what he was making. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? And didn't they not get along as much with Suzanne Summers for a little while there because of it? Because there was a few episodes there where she was relegated to 1 minute off camera, and they wouldn't, she was totally filmed separately, right?
Yeah, those were bizarre. I think they were season 5. They would just do the tag scenes, which are the closing, 32nd, and she was calling on a phone in some random room. It was it was bizarre.
Like her grandmother's room or something like that. I can't remember. She was had to be called away to her grandmother's house or something like that.
Yeah, which is weird because, like, I mean, her cousin was living with him at the time, and I guess she didn't want to have anything to do with the grandma. But no, I mean, Cindy was there, who was supposedly related to Chrissy.
Yeah.
But Chrissy was back at home, and the cousin was there. It was, yeah.
So, the next one that came in after Suzanne Summers left was Cindy. What's their last names? I forgot.
Jenny Lee Harrison.
Jenny, Snow. That's right, Snow. Thank you. Yeah, Chrissy Snow. Yeah, you're thinking of the main actress. I didn't mean the main actor. I meant the character. The character. And Chrissy Snow is Christmas Snow, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah, and Cindy what seemed to be an overblown portrayal of her. You know, it seemed to be like everything Suzanne Summers was, but cartoonish to the degree, you know. I mean, she comes in and she flips her bag over her back and hits Jack in the head, and Jack goes off to the side. You know what I mean? It seemed to be a little too comical. I didn't look, I liked all of them, and even she was funny, but she was my least favorite because it was the most unrealistic. Let's just put it that way. It was the most, it got a little too Groucho Marco flavor for me personally with her. But you know, I mean, she's only taking directions. She's probably really an actress. You know what I mean? They're telling her to do this. What was the issue with her? How come she ended up leaving?
I mean, I believe it was the actor. I mean, I think it was about the same deal again. Like they brought in Terry while she was still in the cast, and Jenny Lee Harrison was like 19 or 20. She was really young. Mm-hmm. And I know they brought in Terry, and they were just like, well, you know, this is our new roommate. She's not, you know, she's not airhead or zany at all. She's a nurse.
Yeah.
Terry. So they're like, yeah, we don't need you anymore now. And they didn't really give a reason. I mean, they gave a reason on the show for her character leaving.
What was the reason on the show? I don't remember personally.
I think she went back to school too. I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think she went back to be a vet, didn't she?
Right. I believe so. Unless I'm getting it confused with another show. I know she went back to school. I'm almost positive.
Do you remember Thrash?
Well, if I remember correctly about the real reason, like in
go ahead.
Universe, but I believe she had just gotten cast on the TV show Dallas, which was the #1 show in the country at the time.
And there you go, Dallas.
I believe there were scheduling conflicts, and that's why at first they tuned her down, and then out altogether.
Okay, all right, yeah.
He probably made more money on Dallas.
I'm certain of it. I'm positive she did. Yes.
Never watched Dallas. Not even a single episode. Not even Who Shot JR or nothing.
They all did. No, I'm kidding.
I wasn't a Dallas fan personally. It was a little too grown up for me at the time. So I might go back and watch it now. You know, I mean, it might be really intriguing for me.
It's a little dated in this day and age, I'm afraid. But
yeah.
It was a good show in its day.
But that's okay. I mean, I like dated shows. You know, I still watch dated shows. I still watch Three's Company. You know, I still like it. But so I might like it. Who knows? At the time I was a kid, you know, and it was just like, do I really want to watch this stuff about all this grown-up stuff happening? You know what I mean?
Oil tycoons. It's not that exciting when you're 12.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
A lot of very good-looking women, though.
I get it.
Very true.
Wasn't Heather Locklear in that?
No, that was Dynasty.
Oh, Dynasty. Okay, Dynasty. All right. Then there was Knox Landing, right?
Mm-hmm.
As well, weren't they all kind of competing for each other, with each other?
Yes, they were
at one time.
Mm-hmm.
You had Knox Landing, and you had Dynasty, and Dallas.
Falcon's Crest, or whatever that. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, Falcon Crest, yeah, about the winery with Ronald Reagan's first wife, Jane Wyman.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes.
Wow. I had
I watched that
And I
no
one.
just thought
idea.
of Dallas too had Patrick Duffy, which would be in a show with Suzanne Summers later.
Very good. Very good.
Oh, it did have Patrick Duffy. Dallas did.
Yes, Patrick Duffy was JR's brother, the good brother. It was sort of a Cain and Abel situation, and Patrick Duffy was the good guy.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm thinking of a different actor then. I'm not thinking of the same name. But what show was he in with Suzanne Summers?
Step by step.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. All right. I'm getting the guy right in my head. He's the guy that they killed off
And brought back. Yes.
and brought back through like he's in the shower and it was like a big deal or something.
And that scene was actually shot as if he was doing a commercial for Coast. Good morning.
Yeah.
And you could have a good morning too. So the film crew wouldn't leak the surprise.
Right, right. I wonder if there's any disinformation about that.
I'm certain of it. I'm certain of it, yeah.
A lot of people really hated, to get back to the main point of the program after that awesome sidebar there. A lot of people really hated Terry. How, I don't know. Well, I mean, the people I talk to, they're like, oh, she was my least favorite or something like that. I actually really liked her. I mean, I thought she added something. They weren't just trying to rebrand Chrissy. You know what I mean? They, instead of being, so you had kind of the, forgive me for sounding macho or whatever, or, insensitive culturally, but you had kind of the dumb blonde. And then you had like the ridiculously dumb blonde. And then you had Chrissy, who was supposed to like break the rule. Not Chrissy, but Terry, who was supposed to break the rules and be like the smart, level-headed, like another kind of almost like another version of Janet. But obviously a little bit different. I have no idea. I know what happened to Janet. And I know what happened to Jack, but I have no idea what happened to Terry. As I don't, what happened with her? Where, I mean, in the universe, in the somatic universe of Three's Company, what was the end of her story?
Oh, in Three's Company. Okay, I thought you were talking about real life again too. No, in Three's Company, I think she was a travel agent, or a nurse, and she went and either worked in another hospital or she moved, but she was the only one that didn't get married.
Yeah.
Janet got married and Jack got married, or he didn't get married, but he moved in with the girl.
Yeah.
But she just kind of went and moved, I guess, because they were both moving. She can't afford the apartment, I suppose. But
yeah,
I mean, she was a nurse, which was kind of hard to believe she couldn't afford an apartment. But okay, so she just moved.
Yeah,
and that was all I really remember. They didn't go into her story too
I don't
much.
think they went into her story a whole lot. I know Janet got married. They wrapped that up and kind of got her married off
very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was a little upset that Jack and Janet did not get together. I thought that they really belonged together, and it was really upsetting that they did not end up together.
I really did not like his girlfriend at all. The one who played his girlfriend, I could not stand her. As soon as she came in, I was like, "What are they doing?" There's
where did they find her?
No. Yeah, nothing. I just didn't care for it all. That show I didn't care for either.
No, and no one did. I mean, how long did the spinoff last?
Half a season or something like that, or something.
The spinoff was called Three's a Crowd.
Robin's Nest, I thought. Or is that the English version?
That's got to be the English version. I think it's Three's a Crowd.
Okay.
What's that?
Yeah, Three's a Crowd. The only good thing about it was the guy from Soap was in it. But it seemed like it was trying to be his show almost. The focus of it was him for about half the episodes. Like, I'm the intervening father-in-law. I mean, that was the
Yeah.
main. It's so cliche. It just didn't really go anywhere.
And I watched 2 episodes while it was on, like
Right.
weekly, because I was just like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And it really seemed, I didn't like it. It was, I don't even know how long it stayed on the air. I know that I watched 2 episodes, and then I think maybe it even changed um, time slots or something like that, because it just evaporated. I mean, it just wasn't there.
Probably they still show it as part of the Three's Company channel on Pluto,
Oh, do they?
which it's like, yeah, it's like, why are they wasting their time? But I've seen it a couple times. I'm like, why are they showing Three's a Crowd when you have 8 seasons of Three's Company? But yeah, they show it
What?
for some reason.
How many episodes of Three's a Crowd did they have?
Oh boy, I think like you said, perhaps like maybe a half a season, or it could have been a full season, but probably just like the Ropers, like a
A short
season and then you're
season.
done. Right, right.
Yeah, a short season. I remember too in Three's Company that it was outed. Speaking of which, outed that Jack was not gay, and that he actually attributed his not being gay to. Do you remember who he attributed it to?
Um,
Mr. Furley. Remember? Because they was going to
oh,
move in with him, and he said, "Well, because
oh,
after seeing such a," he said, basically saying, so, after seeing such a stud like you, I just couldn't help but be attracted to women, or something like that. Like he was taking his example from him, like he helped him
oh,
change from being gay to being straight, which he never was gay, but obviously he helped them. I don't know if you remember that or not. Like at the very end, he said, "Well, with you as an example, I just couldn't help but follow in your footsteps and go ahead and." I don't know if you remember that or not, but
I remember it now that you said it. I
yeah.
thought you were talking about all the other episodes where he would tell him something and then there'd be a misunderstanding. Oh, I didn't really tell you I was straight, and it's all back to the way it was. Because there was a lot of episodes like that.
Oh, remember Austin from Boston or something like that, where John Ritter had to play a double of himself in front of Mr. Furley,
No.
where
Yeah,
he
where
had,
he
yeah,
actually grabs his head and pulls it into the next room.
and he wore a hat and he says, "I'm Jack's brother, Austin from Boston." And Mr. Furley fell for it or whatever. When do you think the show ended? When do you think it was over, man? I mean, why do you think it should have been canceled before it was canceled?
Um, you can go ahead, Brad. I haven't.
Well, the way I see it, and I don't want to knock the actress because it wasn't her fault. When they replaced Susan Summers with Chrissy, it seemed to keep going pretty much in the same vein. Once they brought in a third replacement roommate, it just seemed almost like they were trying too hard, like they were grabbing for straws. I mean, at what point does this franchise become unsustainable? I'm not saying that the episodes with Terry were poor. I just think at that stage, it just feels like the whole show is pretty much phoning it in by that point. Perhaps even the remaining cast members were just tired of it at that stage
Mm,
and hoped they had canceled it after Chrissy left.
mm.
Yeah.
So, all right, questions. So, well, one of the thing I want to follow up with that before I get to these questions, and that is, uh, uh, John Ritter in an interview said that he thought it was over because in like the first season they were hiding a puppy from Mr. Roper, and in the last season they were hiding a cat from Mr. Furley, and he was just thinking, how long can we do this? how long can we continue this misadventures with the same characters, not understanding, hiding something. And he just thought, well, these stories are just kind of getting, too repetitive. And once the stories start getting really repetitive, it's difficult to make it fresh and new. You start getting into the cousin Oliver syndrome. So let's wrap it up by talking about some of the supporting cast that needs to be mentioned, and just your opinions on them, and maybe some favorite episodes or moments with them. And Larry. So let's start with Larry. Justin, go. What are your thoughts on Larry? Who is he?
Larry, great actor, great supporter for Jack. I mean, they played off each other great. They were good friends in real life. I know they worked great together. Probably the funniest episode I like is when Jack was asking some girl out and Larry was singing for him and playing the guitar in the bushes. And it was supposed to be Jack, but he was miming, and it was actually Larry hiding and playing the guitar.
Yeah.
Apparently he can really sing too and play guitar. That's what he did for a while. So he kind of incorporated that into the show.
Yeah.
But that was one episode I remember. And then, of course, the one where Terry moves in, he sets up all the practical jokes to ruin her arrival.
Yeah.
He was pretty much the instigator of that, which was funny because they blame Jack, but Larry sets everything up.
Right.
But those two episodes, I think, are my favorite. Of course, they are always spoofs of him saying he has women upstairs, or I have twins, and I think even Family Guy did an episode about that, like, Jack, I have twins upstairs, or something like that. But yeah,
right.
Larry was great.
Tharash Pondo, Larry.
Well, let's face it, Jack was your typical naughty boy. Not bad boy, but naughty boy. And every naughty boy needs a wingman. And Larry made the perfect wingman because he was a little naughtier than Jack was. So he made a good foil for him. And probably my favorite episode involving Larry was the one where they both inadvertently start dating the same girl. And when Larry goes to tell Jack about it, he's doing the sort of live model in the department store window and is like losing his mind. And Larry's like, aren't you happy for me? I have this beautiful woman. And Jack's like having a meltdown because it's also his beautiful woman. And in the end, they decide girl can't come between two friends. They told her to take a hike. In reality, she dumps both of them, but at least they can save their friendship. And that's one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah. Yes, great episode. For me, Larry is the guy who's always kind of dragging Jack into trouble. He's kind of the Eddie Haskell of the group. And one of my favorite episodes with Larry is where he Jack, I think it was when Jack had his own restaurant, and Larry says, "Hey, I'll be the entertainment." And he gets up there and he does the entertainment, but it's basically filled with people. The restaurant is filled with people that Larry kind of put there,
Oh yeah.
And really the restaurant wasn't doing as well as Larry was kind of making it out to be, to kind of doing his own show. I don't know if you remember that episode or not. All right. Enough Larry. Lana. Go, Justin. Lana. Tell me about her.
Lana, I enjoyed Lana a lot too. I thought she made the perfect foil for Mr. Furley, because of he was alone, and the Ropers, there were two of them, so he needed someone for that first time he was there. I thought Lana was great. I thought her character going after Jack and trying to avoid Mr. Furley at the same time, that was really smart. And I think she played that. It was like a Georgia or really deep South accent, and she I don't know, she might have been like 45 and Jack was 28. That aspect into it too, the cougar, I guess,
Yeah.
But I thought she was really good, and she did a good job for the one season she was there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is I don't really remember her too well on too many shows. So good. Yeah, one season that makes sense. Any thoughts, Thrash, on Lana?
I thought she worked very, very well. Unfortunately, Jack Tripper didn't. And apparently, he said that he couldn't see why somebody who was, well, such a roving bachelor that he was, would be so dismissive to a very beautiful, albeit a few years older woman. It didn't fit his character. So that's ultimately why she got the chop, is because it was sort of
Wow.
watering down Jack Tripper, who should have been all over it. In fact, I think there was a different episode where he did date a woman who was substantially older than him and still beautiful. So,
Yep.
so sadly, Lana was kind of a scapegoat in Hollywood politics. God knows how many times we've heard that story, huh? But yes,
Yeah.
I thought she worked very well for the one season she was on. And I think you're exactly right. The whole reverse love triangle with Mr. Furley, where Jack's spurting her and she's spurting Furley, and it just kind of goes around. I thought that worked quite well. So
Yeah. Yeah, I liked her kind of older vibe and the lower voice, and that Georgia slang that she kind of had, or that sound in her voice, a little bit not overtly Southern, but semi-Southern kind of accent that
Sultry.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. Okay, last two questions, and I know I gotta let you go here, so I appreciate your time, Justin. Last two questions. Okay, Mr. Furley or the Ropers, if you had to choose one, what would you choose? Who would you choose?
I love Don Knotts, but I'm gonna have to go with the Ropers. I thought they were so much funnier in those 2 seasons, 2 and 3, and 1 too. But I just thought they were so funny, especially Norman Fell.
Okay, Thrash, Ropers or Furley?
I concur. Team Ropers.
Team Ropers. I'm Team Furley. I don't know. I don't know if it was just because of the time that I watched it, but Furley just had a bigger impact on me. I just thought he was funnier for some reason. All right, Chrissy, Cindy, or Terry, go.
Boy. Oh, Chrissy, Cindy, or Terry. Okay, so no Janet.
Oh, no. Janet's there. So you got to choose between the three who rotated in.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with Chrissy. I think she did do that. She did that character really well, no matter what you think of her. She brought her own part to it. She definitely did a good job. So Chrissy, for sure.
Yes. Thrash.
What can I say? Cindy. I had a crush on her.
Oh, you did really? Oh,
I did.
Yeah, well, she was beautiful. She was beautiful for sure. For me, Suzanne Summers all the way. I really wish they didn't get rid of her. Basically she kind of got rid of herself fighting a battle of a glass ceiling that just was not ready to be broken at the time, unfortunately. But all right, well, there's so much more we could cover with this show about how groundbreaking it was. This was fun to share some of our favorite memories. If you have some favorite memories, please share them in the comment section below. Thank you, Justin, for being here with us. And thank you, as always, Thrash Pondo. And I will leave information about these two. Obviously, Thrash, we know Thrash's information, and will always be listed there. And then Justin does have a channel, but he only has like a couple videos. If you want to go over there and give him subscribe, hey, it wouldn't hurt him. You wouldn't care. You'd love it, right, Justin?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, Justin. Justin, you would love it. All right. So if you are listening to this on podcast, please give me the podcast. If you're listening to this on podcast, please review it and leave a rating. That's what you do on podcast. And if you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. And whether or not you're on a podcast or you're on YouTube, share it on your favorite social media. Please share it on your favorite social media. And one last thing, if you are on podcast, please head over to the YouTube page, because there's stuff on YouTube that just isn't on the podcast. So there's more content on YouTube. If you like what we're doing here, you're going to love what we're doing over there, especially on the live stream. the live stream. It's great. All right. And visit my Patreon page if you want to make a donation or be part of any clubs. Thank you, everyone, and we will talk to you again. Take care.